Hello, welcome back to Kim Reads Continue with Misery, the 13th. From the 8th of April until the 14th day, they enjoyed an unbroken run of fine weather. Sun beamed down from a cloudless sky, and temperatures sometimes rose from the mid-60s. Brown patches began to appear in the field behind Annie's neat red barn. Paul hid behind his work and tried not to think about his car, the discovery which was already overdue. His work did not suffer, but his mood did. He felt more and more that he was living in a cloud chamber, breathing an atmosphere thick with uncoalesced electricity. Whenever the camera stole his mind, he immediately called the brain police and thought they had led away in handcuffs and leg irons. Trouble was, the nasty had a way of escaping and coming back after time in one form or another. One night he dreamed that Rancho Grande returned to Annie's place. He got out of his well-kept Chevrolet Bel Air, holding part of the Camaro bumper in one hand and its steering wheel in the other. "Does this belong to you?" he asked Annie in a dream. Paul had awakened in a less than cheery frame of mind. Annie, on the other hand, had never been in better spirits than she was during the sunny early spring week. She cleaned, she cooked ambitious meals, although everything she cooked came out tasting strangely industrial, as if years of eating in hospital cafeterias had somehow corrupted any culinary talent she might once have had. Each afternoon she bundled up Paul in a huge blue blanket, jammed a green hunting cap on his head, and rolled out on the back porch. On those occasions he would take Maham along, but rarely read to him. Being outside again was too great experience to allow much concentration on other things. Mostly it was just that, smelling sweet, cool air instead of the bedroom's stale indoor sly with sick room undertones, listening to the drip of the icicles, watching cold shadows roll slowly and steadily across the melting field. That was somehow best of all. Annie sang in her on-pitch but queerly tuneless voice. She giggled like a child at the jokes on MASH and WKRP, laughing especially hard at the jokes which were mildly off-color, which in the case of WKRP was most of them. She filled it in tirelessly as Paul finished chapters 9 and 10. The morning of the 15th, drawn windy and dull with clouds, Annie changed. Perhaps Paul thought it was filling the barometer. It was as good as any explanation as any. She did not show up with his medication till 9 o'clock, and by then needed it quite badly. So badly he had been thinking about going to his stash. There was no breakfast, just pills. When she came, and she was still in her pink quilted house coat. He noted with deepening misgivings that those red marks were wheals on her cheeks and arms. He also saw gooey splatters of food on the house coat, and she had only managed to get on one of her slippers. Thud slush went Annie's feet as she approached him. Thud slush, thud slush, thud slush. Her hair hung around her face. Her eyes were dull. Here, she threw pills at him. Her hands were also covered with streaks of goo. Red stuff, brown stuff, sticky white stuff. Paul had no idea what it was. He wasn't sure he wanted to know. The pills hit on his chest and bounced on his lap. She turned to go. Thud slush, thud slush, thud slush. Annie, she stopped, not turning around. She looked bigger that way, with her shoulders rounding the pink house coat, her hair like some battered helmet. She looked like a pilt-down woman staring out of her cave. "Annie, are you all right?" "No," she said indifferently and turned around. She looked at him with the same dullards expression as she pinched her lower lip between the thumb and her first finger of her right hand. She pulled it out and then twisted it, pinching it inward at the same time. Blood first dwelled between lip and gum, then gushed down her chin. She turned and left without speaking a word, before his stunned mind could persuade itself that he had really seen her do that. She closed the door and locked it. He heard her thud slushing her way down the hall to the parlor. He heard the creak of her favorite chair as she sat down. Nothing else. No TV, no singing, no clink of silver or crockery. No, she was just there, just sitting there, not being all right. Then there was a sound. It was not on repeat, but it was utterly distinctive. It was a slap. Damn hard one. And since He was in on here on one side of a locked door, and she was out there on the other side of it. You didn't have to be Sherlock Holmes to figure out she'd slap herself. Good and hard from the sound. He saw her pulling her lip out, digging her short nails into an insensitive pink meat. He suddenly remembered a note on mental illness he had taken for the first Misery book, where much of the action had been at London's Bedlam Hospital. Misery had been railroaded there by the madly jealous villainess. What a depressive personality begins to slide deeply into a depressive period, he had written. One symptom he or she may exhibit is acts of self-punishment, slapping, punching, pinching, burning oneself, cigarette butts, who's suddenly very scared. I'm going to stop right there. Thanks for listening.